Folks, it's genuinely unfortunate that the capital of the United States is over there on the East Coast, because it means sometimes my stream starts later than it would need to be to catch certain things live. The Trump legal team press conference, it basically, I think, just ended, but I saw some Twitter screenshots, okay? We need to get in on this right now. What the fuck is going on? So for those of you who don't know, Trump recently appointed Rudy Giuliani to be like his top man for the whole election fraud shenaniganry, which is kind of sort of like appointing a clown to the head position. You know what I mean? It would be like if in a last ditch effort, Donald Trump, in order to retain popularity and a high approval rating, declared war in Iran, and he's like, "Hello, and here's my top general," and he moves off to the side and introduces Beppis the clown from the side. That's basically what we've got right here. Because Giuliani is a fucking clown, and a cheerleader, and okay, let's just take it away, folks. Yeah, pile in. Yeah.
Good afternoon, and thank you very much for coming. This is
yeah, no masks.
Representative of our legal team. We're representing President Trump, and we're representing the Trump campaign. When I finish, Sidney Powell and then Jenna Ellis will follow me, and we will present in brief the evidence that we've...
Listen, I'm a progressive guy, and today is International Men's Day, and all men are kings, okay? Short men, tall men, dick men, non-dick men, broad shoulder men, narrow shoulder men. It doesn't matter to me. They're all kings, okay? Except for Rudy Giuliani, okay? So I'm gonna get my body shaming out of the way right off the fucking bat. Rudy Giuliani looks like a fucking goblin gargoyle, okay? If Rudy Giuliani was entombed in stone and placed upon one of the rafters of a great cathedral looking down upon man, every time you look up from the fucking courtyard upon his visage from hundreds of feet below, you truly would feel the wrath of God. You know, the fear of God would be struck into your heart. Because looking up at this wretched creature reminds you of the greatest depths to which you are capable of plunging, okay? Your immortal soul can be subjected to so much worse than the material tortures of the living world, okay? And Rudy Giuliani's visage is a reminder of that, okay? Oh, God. Isn't fascism supposed to be about aesthetics?
Collected over the last, I guess it is 2 weeks. Also, Joseph de Genever, Victoria Tenzinger here with me. There are a lot more lawyers working on this, but we're the...
Was that Tenzinger? Was that her name?
I guess it is 2 weeks. Also, Joseph de Genever, Victoria Tenzinger here with me.
I'm going to get way more than 10 zingers out of this press conference. Ayo!
There are a lot more lawyers working on this, but we're the... I guess we're the senior lawyers. And Boris Epstein.
And Epstein's in on this, apparently.
I guess the best way to describe this is when we began our representation of the president, we certainly were confronted with a very anomalous set of results. Mm-hmm. The president way ahead on election night, 700,000 or 800,000 in Pennsylvania. Somehow he lost Pennsylvania.
Dude, that's crazy. That's amazing. After Donald Trump told all of his followers not to vote by mail, and then they started counting the mail-in votes, and then his lead disappeared. That's crazy, dude. How did that happen? That's amazing.
We have statisticians willing to testify that that's almost statistically impossible to have happened in the period of time that it happened. But of course, that's just speculation. As we started investigating, both our investigations and the very patriotic and brave American citizens that have come forward are extraordinary number of people, extraordinary number of witnesses, and what emerged very quickly...
I think this guy deserves the 1.25 playback speed. All the brave citizens who filed affidavits seeing they saw a very suspicious colored man enter the voting booth poll counting place while they were walking around outside protesting the vote counting.
This is not a singular voter fraud in one state. This pattern repeats itself in a number of states. Almost exactly the same pattern.
Exactly the same pattern in specifically the states of Georgia, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Arizona, and Nevada. Those are the specific states. Oh, for those states, listen, just mathematically, that's how it played out, okay? There's no relationship whatsoever between Trump's path to victory and those states at all. That just happened to be the states we're focused on.
Which, to any experienced investigator, prosecutor, would suggest that there was a plan from a centralized place to execute these various acts of voter fraud, specifically focused on big cities, and specifically focused on, as you would imagine, big cities controlled by Democrats.
There you go.
And particularly focused on big cities that have a long history of corruption.
Remember, folks, that for all of the bluster the Trump administration has with regards to this gigantic megalomaniacal fraud plan, anytime they enter a courtroom, they turn into little fucking bitch pussies, okay? They actually go in there and file lawsuits and then say they're not alleging fraud because they actually don't have any evidence of it. See, the thing is, it's not illegal to lie to the American public. If it was, no president would not be inside a jail cell right now. But it is illegal to lie to a judge. Just happens to be how it works out. So they'll go out there and they'll stand up here and talk to the American people and they'll say, we have irrefutable evidence from tens of thousands of witnesses that millions of ballots for Trump were destroyed. They were burned and incinerated. That billions of Chinese Biden ballots were brought in. And then they'll go in front of a court, you know, and they'll be like, I just think it would be nice if you could make it so that when they count the ballots, they make the Republican ballot witnesses a little closer than the Democrat. I think a lot of the Republicans are old. They have bad eyes. They need to look closer to see the ballots. Like, that's what we're dealing with right now. These two people turned into absolute fucking pussies in court. There is no legal route forward for Donald Trump to hold the presidency. For all of the bluster they engage in, there is no fucking shot. All of this is theater.
The number of voter fraud cases in Philadelphia could fill a library. Just a few weeks ago, there was a conviction for voter fraud, and one 2 weeks before that. And I've often...
Wasn't the most recent conviction for voter fraud from a Republican? Wasn't that the most recent thing that happened? There was a Republican who committed voter fraud? Yeah, that was the last thing that happened. It was a Republican. Every time this shit happens, it's a fucking Trump supporter.
Said, I guess sarcastically, but it's true, the only surprise I would have found in this is if Philadelphia hadn't cheated in this election. Damn. Because for the last 60 years, they've cheated in just about every single election. You could say
they've been making this claim lately, too. By the way, it's just because it's black people. Just so you guys know. They're going to say the same thing about Detroit. They're going to say the same thing about Philadelphia. It's because it's black people, okay? That's the reason why. They're focusing on big cities with huge POC populations, and then they allege that Democrat control and corruption are what leads to their Democrat strongholds. It's just black people. It's black people.
Say the same thing about Detroit. Each one of these cities are cities that are controlled by Democrats, which means they can get away with anything they want to do. It means they have a certain degree of control over, certainly control the election board completely, and they control law enforcement. And unfortunately, they have some friendly judges that will issue ridiculously irrational opinions just to come out in their favor.
What is this? It appears Rudy Giuliani was getting roasted by the campaign staff live streaming the event on Trump's Twitch account.
Up on the screen, yeah.
Wait, what?
I do not.
Hey, guys.
Entrepreneurs out there have started crunching data.
Did you guys catch the leaked Zoom info?
Who could easily recognize
It just popped up on the screen, yeah.
that I do not have.
Can they hear us on the stream? I guess not.
I don't think so, but that's kind of cool.
To the point of mathematical impossibility that 186,000 votes come in at once, all for Joe Biden. That's like flipping a coin 186,000 times and it lands on
See fucking Rudy's hair dye dripping down his face.
Happen. There is no reasonable explanation for the upshoots,
Can't believe they
straight
leaked it.
lines up.
Is that really from the Trump Twitch account? I have no idea if that's authentic. I don't know if that's just two dudes talking over it. I have no fucking idea.
So let's start with the specifics. Pennsylvania. In Pennsylvania, the margin of victory now for Biden, which is not a victory, it's a fraud, is 69,140 votes. The reality is that we are now at a count of 682,770 ballots, for which we have affidavits that there was no inspection of that ballot at the time that it was entered in the vote. It was a mail ballot. Mail ballots are particularly prone to fraud.
No evidence
We were
of
warned
that.
about that by Jimmy Carter, President Jimmy Carter, and Secretary Baker in a report about a dozen years ago. in which they said that mail balloting is particularly susceptible of fraud, that we should very carefully consider ever doing it, and that it can be taken advantage of.
Well, then it's a good thing that basically every election security official has gone over the results of this election and said that it was all perfectly above board. Guys, the fucking Department of Homeland Security, affirmed that that this election was the safest one in history. And then Trump fired him. Unironically. The Department of Homeland Security cyber chief who presided over an elaborate election security effort guarding against foreign interference from fraud was ousted by President Donald Trump, following him claiming that this was the safest election that we've had, like, ever. Yeah, he was appointed by Trump, too. They are cannibalizing their own. There really are two paths. There are two paths right now for Republicans. You really either can be, like, a sane, regular Republican, or you have to be, like, a crazy fucking loyalist. Like, the Republican Party, I'll talk about this later, but the Republican Party right now is entering an unfathomable schism. It's unbelievable how divided the Republican Party is right now.
Justice Souter warned us of the same thing in a comment in an election law case. And even the New York Times wrote articles.
Oh yeah, if you ever want evidence that fascism is inherently self-defeating, look at how they treat their own, dude. This is unironically like the Night of Long Knives within the fucking Republican Party. Trump firing officials left and right, people he appointed to, people throwing everyone off the board, fucking crazy-ass fucking fascists on Twitter and shit talking about how they're never going to support the Republican Party again. They're incapable of any type of, like, internal consistency or coherence. Yeah, circular firing squad.
About how dangerous mail-in voting was. And this is the first time we ever did it en masse. And I think we proved that all three are prophets. It's not only susceptible to fraud.
Except in court.
It is easily susceptible to fraud.
Didn't prove it in
particularly
court.
if you have a plan or scheme, which sounds eerily similar to what Joe Biden told us a few days before the election, that he had the best voter fraud.
The left has way more infighting than the right, though. Yeah, good thing the left's not in power in this country, though. Like, it's irrelevant whether the left infights. The left has never been in charge of this fucking country. Where, like, right now, there's a fascist government in power, and they're, like, circular firing squatting themselves. If we're in a position where there are unironic fucking Marxist-Leninists in government, then maybe we can have a conversation about lefties eating themselves up. But right now, Republicans have all the power in the fucking world, and they still can't keep themselves from self-destructing. So, like, we'll wait. We'll have that conversation soon, okay? We'll relive the great fucking ML anarchist split in American government soon. But for right now, it's the fascists, and they're doing just a phenomenal job, people. Just a fantastic job.
Team in the world. Well, they were good. I don't know that they were that good because they made significant mistakes, like all crooks do, and we caught them.
Except
One of them
in court.
was pushing out Republican inspectors. Every state, almost every civilized country, even Tanzania and places that you wouldn't think of, have rules about inspectors, particularly for mail-in ballots. And
Yeah,
why is it
America
particularly
does
for
too.
mail-in ballots? Because they can more easily be defrauded, and you can't check on it. People who have never done a mail-in ballot.
I have here
I'm going to show you why it's so
one
easy.
mail-in fraud.
Well, you fill out an envelope like this.
Uh-huh.
You put your
Oh, he's already getting really sweaty. I can see it's coming. It's coming, people.
usually in New York it would be your assembly district and the precinct in which you're voting. You fill out your name and your address,
Uh-huh.
and you sign it. You then use an inner envelope and you put the ballot inside the inner envelope.
Uh-huh.
You seal it all and you send it in. When it's being counted, almost invariably in the United States, up until the mass cheating that went on in this election, a Republican and a Democrat inspector, as well as others.
Oh, wait, hold on. Wait. I'm sorry. This is from Charlie Kirk's Twitter. The evidence just laid out by Trump's legal team is overwhelming, except it's all gone thrown out of court. Where's the FBI? Guys, you know what would happen if the FBI investigated any of these fucking claims? The same thing that would happen with the fucking Erie, PA, post-ballot man, which is the FBI would investigate it, find out it's all bullshit, and then they would claim the FBI is corrupt. They already believe the FBI is corrupt. Why would they ever trust an outcome from the fucking FBI? We all know how this is going to go. The legal claims by the Trump administration are so weak, they can't even get, like, they're literally getting tossed out of court. They're not even being turned into court cases. Judges are looking at their court cases and going like, oh, wow, this is fucking worthless. and throwing them out. You really think the FBI is going to turn over a result? What Charlie Kirk wants is for the FBI to investigate it so the FBI can find no evidence of fraud, and then Charlie Kirk can go, see, even the FBI is in on it. There is no instance here, absolutely none, zero, where these people accept that Trump didn't win the election. It can't happen. If the FBI investigates it and they inevitably find there was no fraud, then the FBI is in on it. If fucking Jesus Christ came down from heaven and personally investigated every single ballot and found there was no fraud, they would choose Trump over Jesus. There was no end to this hole, okay? So, yeah, they can complain all they want. They're the one who keeps getting thrown out of court. So, maybe bring some better lawyers, buddy. Maybe not bring Rudy fucking Giuliani to be the head of your Trump legal team.
If there are other parties, is allowed to watch the unsealing of this ballot. Used to go on all over America when we conducted honest elections. Because the only time you can ever find out if it's a fraudulent ballot is when it is looked at. The minute you approve this, it's thrown away, gone for eternity. The only thing left is the vote. That could have been Mickey Mouse. That could have been a dead person. That could have been not filled out properly. That could have been the same person 30 times. That could have been, and all these things have happened, by the way.
Except you haven't proven them in court. So just a reminder to you guys, when they throw out the envelope, they still have the vote. And in the vote, they have your name and address. And then they can check your name and address against their logs. The vote is all they need to prevent fraud.
That could have been nothing filled out. We'd never know. So for
Vosh, that happened and they were caught and not counted? Yeah, of course. People send in fraudulent or like invalid votes all the time. They just get caught, so nothing comes of it.
For example, the recount being done in Georgia will tell us nothing because these fraudulent ballots will just be counted again because they wouldn't supply the signatures to match the ballots. So it means nothing to have counted these ballots because, for example, in Pennsylvania, where we have probably our most precise evidence, 682,770 of these ballots were cast, put in, and they weren't inspected, which renders them ballots that are null and void, cannot be counted, have to be removed from the vote. Why? For several reasons, not the least of which is that was basically.
Oh, sorry, I forgot to say he's lying right now. I'm sorry, I completely forgot because I'm just astounded by how comfortable these people are with lying. Every time he says any factual claim about voter fraud, he's lying. If he was telling the truth, it would have been found in court. So anytime he makes any of these claims, the only response, anytime you're arguing with a Trump supporter and they're like, well, actually, if you take a look at the Georgian vote counting process, what you'll find is they just accepted these giant trucks full, they never even checked them. All you have to do is say, damn, that's so crazy. Why weren't they able to find it in court? Yeah, dude's a lawyer. What? Wow, that's amazing. Where's the evidence? Can do this forever.
Only one of two places in the state where it was done. So in the other parts of the state.
Hold on. You can skip the first Rudy part. The good part starts with the lady and when Rudy comes back. Do we want to? This goes on for a while here. We can actually skip because I know what he's going to do. He's going to list the exact same series of voter fraud claims that we've heard a million times before. Oh my fucking God. Jesus Christ. Wow. Never mind. Did he fight a fucking lich in between where we were at and where I just clicked? I'm sorry. I thought he was just going to be reciting alleged evidence of voter fraud. I didn't realize that he had engaged in a duel to the death with a fucking poltergeist. Jesus Christ. Is that like just a really bad frame? No, it's not. Oh, man. Oh, God, he's melting. The hair dye. It's the... Oh, my fucking God. It's all real. It's all real, and it's every frame. It's not just one bad frame. It's everything. Jesus Christ. Here he looks like he could be a Seinfeld character. And we're back at it. He's fucking melting. Here he looks normal. Here, we'll carry on from this frame.
That I think any jury would accept after they heard this evidence, that somebody had this plan. Maybe that was always the plan. to do this very, very questionable form of voting, which has been criticized by President Carter, by Secretary Baker, by most experts on election reform. I think the logical conclusion is this is a common plan, a common scheme. It comes right directly from the Democrat Party, and it comes from the candidate. Clearly. That's the reason why Hillary Clinton said, don't concede, even if you're losing. That's the reason we had a...
This means a lot to me. There's something that I always used to think about, you know? If you're like the president or the Secretary of State or some other like really important, powerful person, and you have to do press conferences, you have to speak to the public. You know what I do sometimes on stream? I clear my throat, I cough, I have to blow my nose, whatever. They never do any of that stuff. They have a makeup team that makes sure that for the duration of their press conference or whatever it is they're doing, they look presentable and they look, you know, put together. And what this suggests to me is that Rudy Giuliani he didn't go through the appropriate channels to get his makeup done, because there is no way on God's green earth that any competent fucking presidential administration makeup team would be putting on hair dye that would leak down your face with sweat. He's so sweaty. Did they not do makeup beforehand? It really does give me the impression that they just threw him out there, you know? Like they just roused him from his fucking crypt and then rolled him out there, you know? I don't. Hey, Vosh, look who's talking. Yeah, that's the difference between me and Rudy Giuliani, okay? I'm not the president's lawyer. That's the difference. And you know what? If I was streaming as the president's lawyer, I'd put some goddamn waterproof powder on my forehead, okay? That's the big difference there, okay? Listen, let me tell you, I could do it right now if I wanted to. I don't really care enough to. But if I was the president's lawyer, you can bet your ass that I would come out here with some goddamn waterproof makeup, okay? But Rudy Giuliani, man. Whew.
Freudian slip by the candidate. And he said he had the best voter fraud team in the country. That's the reason why he probably didn't have to go out and campaign. He had to have known what they were going to do. This had to be planned in advance. I'm kind of checking, did they go, you know, to the same contractor to get the corrals to put the Republicans in? And this is a disgraceful thing that was done in this country.
The best part is that the woman behind him is clearly just staring at what must be even more hair dye dripping down the back of his neck. Look at her face. She's looking directly at the back of his neck. That's the only thing that she's looking at. There's probably like a fucking river of sweaty grease fucking hair dye dripping down the back of his neck, and all she can do is stare at it.
Probably not much more disgraceful than the things these people did in office, which you didn't and don't bother to cover, and you conceal from the American people. But we let this happen. You know, we use largely a Venezuelan voting machine, in essence, to count our vote. We let this happen, we're going to become Venezuela. We cannot let this happen to us. We cannot not allow these crooks, because that's what they are, to steal an election from the American people. They elected Donald Trump. They didn't elect Joe Biden.
There were actually no
is in the lead
legal votes
because of
for
the
Joe
fraudulent
Biden.
Ballots, the illegal ballots that were produced and that were allowed to be used after the election was over. Give us an opportunity to prove it in court, and we will.
Dude, you've lost 20 cases. You're like 1 to 22 in the courts. What do you mean, give us an opportunity? It's America. Anybody can file a lawsuit. You legally, it's 1 to 29 now? 1 to 29 now. Any American can file a lawsuit against any entity. It's fucking America, bro. What do you mean, give us the chance to prove it? You can just sue the government. You can do whatever you want. You just have to prove it afterwards. He's not saying give us a chance in court. What he's saying is give us a handicap in court. That's what he's actually asking here. He said, give us a chance in court. We can prove it. What he's actually saying is, don't make us prove it. Just let us win the case. Just let us do the case and then we win it.
Now I'm going to ask Sidney Powell to describe to you what we can describe about another totally outrageous situation. I don't think most Americans know that our ballots get calculated, many of them outside the United States, and are completely open to hacking, completely open to change. And
now they're concerned about foreign interference in our elections.
It's being done by a company that specializes in voter fraud. I'll let Sydney describe that to you.
Specializes in what the fuck does that mean? What? Yeah, over here at Fraud Corp, we produce ballot counting machines the world over. Just send them over here to our fucking ballot counting facility in international waters.
Thank you, Rudy.
Oh God,
What
Rudy,
we
get
are
off the
really
stage.
dealing with here and uncovering more by the day is the massive influence of communist money through Venezuela, Cuba, and likely China in the interference with our elections here in the United States.
Wait. Okay, first of all, this is just the Russian interference narrative, except 3 times as deranged. Second of all, Cuba? You think Cuba has the fucking money? You think Cuba has the fucking money to interfere in American elections? What the fuck do you think? What the fuck do you think they're doing? They send somebody over in a fucking paddle boat to personally rob the fucking ballots of the Cuban expats in Miami or something? Same with Venezuela. I like how she said China last, because China is the only country even remotely capable of facilitating some kind of foreign interference operation.
The Dominion voting systems, the Smartmatic technology software, and the software that goes in other computerized voting systems here as well, not just Dominion, were created in Venezuela at the direction of Hugo Chavez to make sure he never lost an election after one constitutional referendum came out the way he did not want it to come out.
What?
We have one very strong witness who has explained how it all works. His affidavit is attached to the pleadings of Lynn Wood in the lawsuit he filed in Georgia. It is a stunning, detailed affidavit because he was with Hugo Chavez while he was being briefed on how it worked. He was with Hugo Chavez when he saw it operate to make sure the election came out his way. That was the express purpose for creating this software. He has seen it operate, and as soon as he saw the multiple states shut down the voting on the night of the election, he knew the same thing was happening here, that was what had gone on.
So your evidence is an affidavit from some expat who saw a vote count stop for a night and assumed it was the ghost of Chavez haunting. What? Is this QAnon? I don't even know. Is this like Time Cube? What is happening right now? I don't even fucking know. This is insane. So wait, just so I understand. So she is actually saying that the evidence she has that Venezuela has manufactured some kind of rigged vote counting machine and used it in America is that vote counting stopped in America, and then one former Venezuelan said, hey, this is just like that one time? Do I have that more or less correct? That's basically what's happening right now. Okay. Wow.
Now, the software itself was created with so many variables and so many back doors that can be hooked up to the internet or a thumb drive stuck in it or whatever. But one of its most
Oh, hey, thank you for the Associated Press fact check. Claim Dominion Voting Systems, one of the most widely used election technology firms in the U.S., is owned by the company Smartmatic through an intermediary company called Indra. False. Both Dominion and Smartmatic have released statements saying no ownership relationship exists between the two competing firms. Indra Sistemas, a Spanish company, told the Associated Press in an email it has never developed any project or had a commercial, contractual, or corporate relationship with either firm. That's just what they want you to think. Obviously, that's exactly what a Hugo Chavez ghost-puppeted election fraud company would say. This proves nothing.
Characteristic features is its ability to flip votes. It can set and run an algorithm that probably ran all over the country to take a certain percentage of votes from President Trump and flip them to President Biden, which we might never have uncovered had the...
Wasn't this the plot of a movie? Wait, what was the movie where the guy made money by stealing the fraction of a cent of every bank transaction? What was the name of that movie? What was the name of that movie? Come on, guys. Office Space. Yeah. So, you see, what Hugo Chavez's ghost did is he stole the leftover fractions of the ballot votes from every county and transferred them over to Biden. Let's hear her say President Biden one more time. Freudian slip, or do you think she's a grifter and she's just saying whatever the fuck people want her to say while she privately knows that Joe Biden is the president-elect?
The vote from President Trump and flip them to President Biden, which we might never have uncovered had the votes for President Trump not been so overwhelming in so many of these states that it broke the algorithm that had been plugged into the system. And that's what caused them to have to shut down
What?
the states they shut
Wait. We might never have discovered Hugo Chavez's voter algorithm were it not for the fact that so many based peds came out to vote for Trump. It actually broke the algorithm. Those vote fraud counting machines, they can account for maybe 98 or 99% of the vote going to one candidate. But as in most of America, 100% of the votes going to Trump, it broke their little computer brains. And that is how we knew that fraud was going on.
down in. That's when they came in the back door with all the mail-in ballots, many of which they had actually fabricated. Some were on pristine paper with identically matching perfect circled dots for Mr. Biden. Others were shoved in batches. They're always put in a certain number of batches, and people would rerun the same batch. This corresponds to our statistical evidence that shows incredible spikes in the vote counts at particular times, and that corresponds to eyewitness testimony.
You mean those spikes being whenever they would submit mail-in ballot results in groups? Well, if you take a look at the Biden ballots, see how neatly they filled them out?
Of numerous people who have come forward and said they saw the ballots come in the back door at that time.
What?
Notably, the Dominion executives are nowhere to be found now. They are moving their offices overnight to different places. Their office in Toronto was shared with one of the Soros entities.
This is unironic QAnon shit. This is actual real QAnon shit. It's all coming together, people. Literal Soros posting. They had offices in Toronto shared with Soros Incorporated, but now they picked it up and fled. What the fuck is going on? This is insane. I can't believe this is real.
The leaders of the Dominion project overall is Lord Malloch Brown, Mr. Soros' #2 person in the UK, and part of his organization. There are ties of the Dominion leadership to the Clinton Foundation and to other known politicians in this country.
Say Epstein.
Just to give you a brief description of how this worked, I'm going to quote from a letter that was written, and I will read that to make sure I get the quote.
Why does she sound like she's about to cry? Is she like, is this her like truth-telling moment? Is she out here? Is this her fight song? Something lights on?
Right. This person was objecting to the United States acquisition of Sequoia voting systems by Smartmatic, a foreign-owned company. I believe this transaction raises exactly the sort of foreign ownership issues that CFIUS is best positioned to examine for national security purposes. It's undisputed that Smartmatic is foreign-owned and it has acquired Sequoia. They keep changing the names as they go along. Different times when a problem comes up, they just create another corporation and call it a different name. But it was a voting machine company doing business in the United States. Sequoia voting machines were used to record over 125 million votes during the 2004 presidential election in the United States.
125 million?
Smartmatic now acknowledges that Antonio Mujica, a Venezuelan businessman, has controlling interest in Smartmatic, but the company has not revealed who all the Smartmatic owners are. According to the press, Smartmatic's owners...
This is an aside, but she does realize that Venezuelan businessmen were the people who opposed Maduro, right? Like, one of the reasons why Venezuela collapsed is because of internal conflict between the right-wing business sector and the government? Nothing. Never mind.
Are hidden through a web of offshore private entities, and that is, in fact, true. Smartmatic has been associated with the Venezuelan government led by Hugo Chavez, which is openly hostile to the United States, and of course, as we all know, communistic and really brutalizing its own people.
He's dead.
The system has been continued there by Mr. Maduro and ensured his election. Smartmatic's possible connection to the Venezuelan government poses a potential national security concern in the context of its acquisition of Sequoia, because electronic voting machines are susceptible to tampering, and insiders are in the best position to engage in such tampering. This letter expresses concern of the Chicago 2006 primary election. And it ends by saying the products and services that are of Venezuelan origin and evaluate Smartmatic
I'm sorry. I'm actually beside myself. Normally, I have something funny to say, but this is actually the most deranged shit that I've ever seen come out of any This is beyond the pale. This actually easily and effortlessly destroys any insanity I've seen from Trump before. This is on an entire other level. This really does just feel like you're reading from a truther website that looks like it was designed in like 1992. Like, this is actually insane, like mental illness. But there are millions of people who are going to believe in this. I'm going to be arguing against people who believe in this for years to come. If SNL was going to make fun of how deranged and conspiratorial the Trump administration is, they would have come up with something less stupid than this. Yeah, this really reads like it's from a comic book. Like, okay, guys, here's the scene where we see how crazy the presidency is these days, and this is what we get. Except it's real.
Ownership to determine who could have influence and control over these and other Sequoia products and services are important to the national security of the United States. This letter was written to Hank Paulson on October 6, 2006.
Hank Paulson? That's the most deranged thing I've heard yet. You can't turn a first name into a last name just by ending it with son.
By Congresswoman Carolyn B. Maloney. Senators Klobuchar and Warren have raised these concerns as recently as December 2019. Why our government has not taken them seriously is beyond my comprehension, unless they have some of the three-letter agencies have used them themselves.
That's literally how it works, you monkey. Yeah, okay, fucking John Johnson. Whoa, shit, wait.
In other parts of the world. We know that the technology was exported to affect an election in Argentina. That's admitted by our friend who wrote the affidavit about Hugo Chavez and his interest in Smartmatic. Again, in 2006, Carolyn Maloney wrote the Honorable John Snow, the Secretary of the Treasury, about the issues. Speaking of
Is there anything metaphorically useful about the fact that it looks like she has a noose wrapped around her neck? Does this not fit a little bit? I feel like there's some meaning behind this.
Smartmatic's leadership, one of the Smartmatic patent holders, Eric Coomer, I believe his name is on the web as being recorded in a conversation with Antifa members saying that he had the election rigged for Mr. Biden, nothing to worry about here, and they were going to F Trump. His social media is filled with hatred for the president and for the United States of America.
Wait, they were gonna fuck Trump? That's not something people who dislike Trump do. They were gonna F Trump? Wait, does she actually mean F as in like press F to pay respects? Or does she mean F as in fuck? Are they gonna fag Trump? Is that... I'm not understanding the context here.
As a whole, as are the social media accounts of many other Smartmatic people. There has been widespread use of this. Dominion itself is utilized in 2,000 jurisdictions in 30 states. It has been uncertifiable in multiple states who realized all the problems that it had, including Texas. Experts have described it across the board, from a Princeton group of 3 professors to experts that we have talked to about its end user vulnerabilities. People can admittedly go in and change whatever they want. They can set the ratio of votes from one thing to another. They can say that a Biden vote counts as 1.25 and a Trump vote counts as 0.75.
It's the reverse electoral college. Wait, no, you can't do that. Is this a joke? Wait, you can make a vote. This is the future of the Republican Party in America, and the future of Republicans. They will make all your votes count as 3/5 votes, and we must get rid of Black History Month and make it White History Month, so we can learn of the plight the whites face, as all Republicans' votes are now worth 3/5, just like with the slaves, as we are now slaves to the Democratic plantation. Nothing bad ever happens to the Republicans. 3/5. Okay.
And those may be the numbers that were actually used here. It's not just the swing states that were affected. The algorithm was likely run across the country to affect the entire election. Like I said, we only discovered it this year because of the overwhelming number of votes for President Trump.
I really like the line she's being given here, where the only way they were able to detect this long-standing and systemic Democratic voter fraud is because the turnout for Trump was so insane that it revealed it with the statistical anomalies. Like, it's not enough for them to say they're only here to promote the integrity of the election. They have to come out here and say, like, The only way we're even aware of this is because Trump blew this election out so fucking hard. Like, they actually are incapable of, it's not modesty, what's the term? Like, just taking it and leaving it? They can't ever walk away with, like, a little bit. And that works for them because Republicans are so fucking stupid that they don't care. It doesn't matter. If this woman came up here and said that their findings showed there was not a single Biden vote, most Trump supporters would believe it. I believe that 100%. If she went up there and she said there was actually not a single vote for Joe Biden, not a single one in all of America, I bet you most Republicans would believe it. They would actually believe that, yeah. They would believe it. They would defend that for years. There's no relationship between reality and these people's brains. They're completely empty vessels.
Swing states that cause the machines to have to shut down for them to backfill for adding votes. We have evidence of different numbers of votes being injected into the system, the same identical, unique 6-digit number multiple times in at least 2 states that we've analyzed so far. And I'm talking about like 341,542 votes for Biden and 100,012 for Trump. There's no explanation, no logical explanation for the same numbers being injected 20 minutes apart into the machine.
What?
The software manual itself, you can download it from the internet, and I would encourage you all to read it because it specifically advertises some of these things as features of the system. Why it was ever allowed into this country is beyond my comprehension, and why nobody has dealt with it is absolutely appalling.
Probably because
the
there's no
machines were
problem
easily
with it.
accessible to hackers. There's a video on the net that it will explain to you how a kid with a cell phone can hack one of these voting machines.
What?
There's been no oversight of Dominion or its software. Workers in each county were trained by Dominion, but there's no evidence of any monitoring otherwise. We have testimony of different workers admitting that they were trained how to dispose of Trump votes and add to Biden votes. The software has a feature pursuant to which you can drag and drop any number.
I have groundbreaking leaked evidence. I have a candid photo taken of your average Biden voter hacking one of these vote counting machines. Live. This happened. This was in Philadelphia. He hacked billions of votes, maybe. All of the blacks in Philadelphia, they had left the Democratic plantation. It was 100% voting for Trump. And then Mr. John over here came over with his bulky cell phone, and he turned them all into Biden votes. Billions of them.
Of batches
John
of
Johnson.
votes to the candidate of your choice or simply throw them away. So we have mathematical evidence in a number of states of massive quantities of Trump votes being trashed. Just simply put
She
in the
got my
trash
evidence.
like you would on your computer with any file, and Biden votes being injected.
She got my
That's
tweet.
addition to the flipping. I mean, it really happens in 2 ways. There's an algorithm that runs that automatically flips all the votes, and then each operator has the ability to go in, override settings. They can ignore a signature. They can ignore the top line of the ballot. They can go down ballot and select who they want to change the results for. Mr. The gentleman who founded Smartmatic, there's video of him on the internet explaining that, yes, on at least one occasion, he admits they changed 1 million votes with no problem. Many of the
Dude, I would pay so much money to be in the courtrooms during any of the cases that have been filed by the Trump administration. I want to see how many times how many times they're like, Exhibit A, this tweet, and it's like a little printout of a tweet. Here you go, Your Honor. Little strip of paper. And here, Exhibit F, another tweet. Notice the patterns? Look up the name. Is it ethnic? What was the name she couldn't pronounce?
jurisdiction, Smartmatic, there's video of him on the internet. The gentleman who founded Smartmatic.
That was 100% a foreign name. There was no... it was probably like some really fucking easy... CEO of Smartmatic? Was that who we're talking about? What's the name? Antonio Mujica? Or Mujica? Is it Mujica or Mujica? Does anyone know? Mujica? Okay, she couldn't pronounce that?
There's been for Mr. the gentleman who founded Smartmatic.
Wow, she gave, wow. Jesus Christ. First of all, that means that she hasn't read this prior. Okay, I just want you guys to know how fucked it is that if you're giving a fucking press briefing, that you haven't even read the fucking script beforehand. Okay? That is insane. That is insane. She didn't even read this beforehand. She didn't check pronunciation or anything. Also, Mujica, this is not a difficult name to pronounce.
There's video of him on the internet explaining that, yes, at least one occasion he admits they changed 1 million votes with no problem. Many of the jurisdictions that have had this problem might not have known of the issues, but many did. And I think a full-scale criminal investigation needs to be undertaken immediately by the Department of Justice and by every state's equivalent.
Why? You're just going to cry about the outcomes. Anytime something doesn't go your way, you don't back off. You just say the corruption has made it there too.
General's office or state investigatory unit, because there's evidence of different benefits being provided to the people who spent $100 million of taxpayer money at the last minute for their state to get the Dominion voting systems put in time for this election in different ways. There's one person that a lawyer told me got, quote, election insurance.
Why is she crying? Because this is her fight. So she doesn't see the crowd, okay? She just sees the lights. After all the years of her saving up all this evidence, okay? Now, finally, she's coming out into the open, okay? This is her coming out of the closet, okay? You guys remember when you announced to your family that you were trans and they accepted you? This is what that feels like to her, okay? Maybe some of you don't know how that feels. Okay, look, whatever. Anyway, that's how she's feeling right now, okay?
Meaning that he would be able to make sure he was elected. I'm sure they explained that feature in detail to many people who expressed interest in putting this voting system in. Texas denied certification of the Dominion system in 2019, but there are no doubt issues with the software.
Trump
Texas
audio
did
quality.
Use, unbeknownst to Texas, I would imagine, since they went to great trouble to examine the Dominion systems and reject them. But other software, the source code that does the...
This is honestly very distressing. Oh yeah, I'm not being hyperbolic when I say that if this country is to survive, people like this must never see power again. It's not a matter of like making the country better. It's if we want it to be possible to make the country better in the future, people like this can never see there is like basically no extent that I would consider, as long as like we're operating within legal bounds, because political violence is wrong. Literally everything must be done to keep these people from entering power again. They are unfathomably destructive to this country.
The alterations is embedded, we've been told, in the source code all across the country and all the voting machines. There's no doubt it has been used to alter elections in other countries. We know specifically that Venezuela exported it for that purpose to Argentina and other Latin American companies to make sure that the corrupt rulers who were willing to pay the highest price for being in office were allowed to rig their elections. This is stunning, heartbreaking.
How long has America been using this? Like, when was this company? Since 2004, and we're only just learning about it now? That's crazy. I wonder why Hillary Clinton didn't use it back in 2016 to win that election. Oh, maybe she did, but the Trump tidal wave was so great that she underestimated public support for him. And I wonder why all of this vote tampering didn't affect the fact that the Republicans gained seats in the House, or that Democrats didn't take the Senate, or that Democrats didn't get a single fucking state legislator, or any of that. That's super crazy, dude. Man, for an all-powerful vote-counting machine that's been around for 2 decades that nobody's noticed before now, and that has absolutely no evidence of misappropriative behavior, otherwise it would have been shown up in court by now. It sure is crazy how ineffective it is.
Infuriating, and the most unpatriotic acts I can even imagine for people in this country to have participated in any way, shape, or form. And I want the American public to know right now that we will not be intimidated. American patriots are fed up with the corruption from the local level to the highest level of our government, and we are going to take this country back. We are not going to be intimidated. We are not going to back down. We are going to clean this mess up now. President Trump won by a landslide. We are going to prove it. And we are going to reclaim the United States of America for the people who vote for freedom.
By a landslide. By the way, This is the behavior of the presidential administration that Crystal Ball says is completely not worrisome, and that liberals were wrong to be worried about it.
How come you're not suing in the Wisconsin counties that use this? Why are you only doing a recount?
And excuse me, that we're not out to the questions at this point. So excuse me, we're not at the questions at this point.
Don't interrupt our unhinged ranting, please, sir. We're not done spinning a narrative that makes no fucking sense. Hold on.
My name is Jenna Ellis, and I'm the senior legal advisor to the Trump campaign, and I'd like to just explain now where we've been and where we're at and what you can expect from this process.
Sure.
So what you have heard, I'm sure, in the fake news papers tomorrow will be one of two things. Either there was not sufficient evidence that we've presented, or we spoke too long.
Oh, God, the 1.25 speed is a little bit much in this bitch in her fucking head, Bob. Jesus Christ.
Okay, so what you've heard now is basically an opening statement. This is what you can expect to see when we get to court to actually have a full trial on the merits, to actually show this evidence in court and prove...
This is an opening statement in court. Oh, yeah, dude, you're going to make it all the way over to court, and the judge is going to let you do all that for the first fucking hour. Court is now in session. Would you like to begin with your opening statement? Yes, I would. So as you all know, the Venezuelan vote counting company, which interned in the office of George Soros in Toronto, recently left after substantial evidence of This isn't a fucking open statement. It's a fucking manifesto, dude. That's not what an opening statement does or is.
Our case. This is not a Law and Order episode where everything is neatly wrapped up in 60 minutes.
What?
For those of you who are here in this room or have maybe tuned out in other networks, clearly you've never been court reporters. Trials take time. Putting on evidence takes
Whoa. Trials don't take time when the judge dismisses them. Hold on. Your evidence against that claim. Some of the fucking cases that you filed in court have lasted less time than the length of a fucking Law and Order episode, okay? Because the judge sees your dipshit ass fucking claim. They're like, nope, don't waste my time. This isn't Law and Order, guys. It doesn't take us 60 minutes to get thrown out of court. It takes us like 25 at most.
time. This is basically an opening statement so the American people can understand what the networks...
She's QAnon. This is Sidney Powell. No, Sidney Powell was the first one, wasn't it? Yeah, that's it. Sidney Powell is the... Oh, get it? The Storm? The Storm. Yeah, it's QAnon. Author of License to Lie, Exposing Corruption, Conviction March, attorney, 500 plus federal appeals, counsel for General Flynn, Trump MAGA. And it's all voter fraud stuff. Yeah, of course, naturally. Good thing you don't determine the results of elections on Twitter, huh? Then they might actually be able to take this one.
Have been hiding and what they refuse to cover because all of your fake news headlines are dancing around the merits of this case and are trying to delegitimize what we are doing here.
Your fake news headlines keep reporting on the fact that we keep having our cases thrown out of court. If your news outlets were true and legitimate, you would only report on Twitter headlines, which is the only place where we're able to make convincing arguments.
Be very clear that our objective is to make sure to preserve and protect election integrity. President Trump has been saying from day one that this is about maintaining free and fair elections in this country.
Wait, but the lady who talked right before you just said the opposite. She just said Trump won in a landslide. We're going to prove it. Wait, you're part of the same legal team. So are you out here to preserve election integrity, or are you out here to secure a Trump victory?
It is not about overturning an outcome. It is about making sure that election integrity is preserved.
Literally 2 minutes ago, the other lady just said this was about overturning an outcome. She just said that. She literally just said that. She said Trump won in a landslide and we're going to prove it.
Preserved, and every American should want that. If every American is not on board with that, you have to ask yourself why. And if your fake news network is not covering this or allowing you to cover it fairly and accurately, you should ask yourself why.
But the news media, all the news has been covering for the past month has been the Trump campaign's meltdown. Like, they're not hiding it or anything. That's all they've been doing.
This is absolutely a legitimate legal basis. We have been asked to provide an entire case that generally would take years in civil litigation. I've been a prosecutor. I have tried cases with far simpler facts. One thing happened in a matter of minutes, and it still takes days. And we go through a jury process. This is the court of public opinion right now. We are not trying our case in the
No,
court.
it's not. You've put through like 30 lawsuits. It's not the court of public opinion. It's the court of courts. And you keep losing. Oh, from 11 minutes ago. Trump campaign withdraws federal lawsuits in Michigan. In a statement by Rudy Giuliani, the campaign said it was pulling out of the lawsuit. Giuliani claimed they had achieved the relief we sought to stop the election in Wayne County from being prematurely certified before residents can be assured every legal vote has been counted and every illegal vote has not been counted. However, local election officials voted to certify the results Tuesday night. This is like the equivalent of that Sailor Moon meme where the guy's like, I'm done here. And Sailor Moon says, you haven't done anything yet? Isn't this the lawsuit they were just referring to in this press conference? This is from 11 minutes ago. Wait, hello? Oh, there we go. How'd that go down? And this press conference ended an hour ago. So he literally did this press conference about how this is my fight song, and then an hour afterwards he withdrew from the case. So tell me, blonde lady, how exactly should the lamestream media cover this one? How? Tell me. How should the mainstream media cover this exactly? Is it fake news to report on this? Like, Windows will... Wait, what was that? Windows will show desktop if you shake Windows like that? Oh, I hate that.
Court of public opinion, because if we were, we would get unbiased jurors. I would strike 99% of you from the jury, and I would be allowed to because of the fake news coverage you provide. You are not unbiased jurors. And until you step out of your role as a journalist and actually go into a courtroom and you are a judge on a bench that has sworn an oath to be unbiased in our separation of powers, then your opinion does not matter. The fact
But you're not a judge. And all the judges keep saying no to all your cases. Wait, who gets to have an opinion on this? What? She just invalidated her own fucking opinion. The fuck does this mean?
facts matter, the truth matters. And if you are fair reporters, you will cover that fairly and appropriately, and you will allow coverage of our media team.
Oh, I remember this lady. I'm going on record now. If they try to cancel Christianity, if they try to force me to apologize or recant my faith, I will not bend, I will not waver, I will not break. On Christ, the solid rock I stand. I'm proud to be an American. Dude, fundamentalist Christianity is a mental illness. How fucking cancel Christianity? What is this, fucking Rome? How much of a persecution complex do you need to have to think that Biden, who's more of a devout fucking Christian than Trump ever would be, is going to cancel Christianity, dude? Dude, Donald Trump is like on his 15th wife. He had to use campaign funds to pay off the hookers that he was fucking. He's had books written by former wives talking about what a piece of shit he is. Joe Biden has had one partner and has been a devout fucking Catholic his entire life. Like, isn't Biden a Catholic? Catholics are Christian.
Team here and our legal team. That is absolutely shocking that all you cover are around the margins. And I've seen all of you taking pictures right now, and I can anticipate what your headlines are going to be. If you are not willing to talk about the evidence that has been presented, then that is absolutely unacceptable for journalistic standards.
You're at a fucking press conference. Oh, Biden's on his second wife. His first wife died. Listen, if your first wife dies, it doesn't count, okay? It's still the first wife. It's just first wife too, okay?
This is an opening statement. This is something where we have told you what the evidence will show, and we have given you a brief description. That happens in a courtroom all the time, where that's not the fact-finding process. That is just an overview. That is what we have given you today because the American people deserve to know what we have uncovered in the last couple of weeks. Remember, this is such a short time frame. And this is an elite strike force team that is working on behalf of the president and the campaign to make sure that our Constitution is protected. We are a nation of rules, not a nation of rulers. There is not someone that just gets to pick who the next president is outside the will of the American people. And that is our task.
They say as they attempt to use the courts to overturn the fucking popular vote.
Because when we talk about voter fraud, it's actually election official fraud. That cannot stand. The Constitution requires that the state legislatures are the ones that make election law. It still has to go by the US Constitution. But what has happened in this case is that state and local level officials, and all the way up, have changed the rules. That's what the Democrats do. If they don't like the rules, they change them. And they change them at the last minute, they manipulate them, they want to tear down our American system.
Except for all the court cases you guys have filed to change the rules at the last second because the rules as they were established and agreed upon ended up leading to a Biden victory. Yeah, the projection is insane. Again, like these people are I sometimes people catch me flack. These people, I really do think they're like subhuman when it comes to like their moral or ethical values. I don't know how much she believes in the shit that she says. It's impossible to know. But like, there's no relationship between the stuff she believes and the stuff that and like reality. There's no relationship, and it doesn't matter to me whether or not she's grifting. There's like the balance between grifting and like sincerity. It doesn't really matter. The fact of the matter is there are now going to be tens of millions of Americans who are going to believe in this shit, okay? I just, frankly, I don't know how autism is in the DSM-5 and being a Republican isn't. When it comes to like how divorced from reality you have to be, I genuinely don't understand how autism is considered a mental condition and being a Republican isn't, okay? I can think of like a dozen mental conditions that fall well below the threshold for fucking crazy you have to be an American Republican, okay? Easily, okay? I like bipolar. Yeah, there are tons of bipolar people I know who are way the fuck more sane than your average fucking Republican, okay? At least autism gives you like mild telepathy, you know? But like you have that, fuck it. I'll say, you know what? Frankly, just get rid of the DSM-5, okay? Because like all that shit that was a joke, okay? Get rid of the DSM-5 because this shit is obsolete, okay? Because clearly our understanding of mental illness is very heavily contextualized by what we consider socially acceptable, and I don't think it's socially acceptable to be Republican, okay? This shit is fucking insane. This shit is completely fucking insane.
Our founders were so brilliant that they anticipated this, that there would be corruption, there would be foreign influence, there would be attempts to manipulate the outcome of the election,
they're really going for the foreign
with
influence.
Who they called our chief magistrate. I would encourage all of you to go home and actually read Alexander Hamilton's Federalist 68 and see what he described as an advocacy position to adopt and ratify the Electoral College and the process by which we select our president. We select our president through the Electoral College not because it disenfranchises voters, but because it is a security mechanism for exactly the type of corruption that we are in.
How the fuck is the Electoral College a security mechanism? What element of the Electoral College enhances election security?
Uncovering. And every American should be grateful and thankful that our founders had the foresight to put in those protections and provisions to make sure that your legitimate legal vote
It protects us from black votes.
not disenfranchised. That is what we are advocating for. We want to make sure to protect election integrity, and your president, President Trump, we are so proud that he is in this fight because he understands that when he swore his oath of office, he swore an oath to uphold and defend the United States Constitution. That is what he is doing. And that is what we are doing. We are confident that through this multiple pathway to victory, we will get to the actual
Fucking Rudy Giuliani toweling himself off in the corner.
outcome that the evidence shows. But this is not about overturning an election on our part. It's about making sure that we protect and preserve free and fair.
The last lady, the lady who's ominously standing behind you, like a fucking JoJo stand waiting to strike, just said that they know Trump won and they're looking to bring about that result.
Elections for all future American elections. If the United States caves to corruption or this type of election integrity disaster, then no election will be secure from here on out. And we all need to be keenly aware of that. We are the representatives here that are standing in this gap and defending President Trump and defending you, the American people, at the end of the day. This is ultimately about the United States of America. And we want to make sure to protect and defend that. And as my colleagues have said, we will not back down. We won't be intimidated. President Trump will not be intimidated. You, the American people, should not be intimidated. You, the press, should cover this fairly and should know that this matters to election integrity and it matters to the future of our nation.
What do you think? What do you think the odds are? By fairly, she means don't cover all the court cases we've lost.
So we have given you an overview, but recognize this is not a court of law. We will get there, and we have time, and we have constitutional provisions that will step in when we show the corruption and the irredeemably challenged and overturned votes that are absolutely corrupt in all of these counties. It is
Irredeemably
irredeemably
challenged.
compromised. We will show that, but you have to give us that opportunity. This has been just our opening statement, and we have an opportunity to get there, and we have time, and we will do that. This is the United States of America, and we stand proudly for President Donald J. Trump. Thank you.
One more point.
The world is watching this. I have gotten multiple emails from people in other countries who watched the same pattern happen there. We have witness
What?
testimony that the same things were done in those countries as this was exported from Venezuela and
Wait, you have witnessed testimony that there's election fraud in other countries. Damn, dude. I hope our courts are willing to accept that. I got an email from a guy in fucking Belarus who said there was election fraud here. Oh, shit. We got him now.
by Maduro and by Mr. Chavez and by Cuba. And of course, we know China also has a substantial presence in Venezuela and substantial interest in making sure that President Trump does not continue in office. This is the consummate foreign interference in our election in the most criminal way you can possibly imagine. It must be shut down. We know, for example, that one of the Dominion's highest level employees or officers went to Detroit himself to man the Detroit Operations Center, where he could watch the votes coming in real time and decide what file folder in the system to put those votes into. That's why you see massive spikes after hours when people were told that all the votes were in and all the votes were counted. Many Dominion employees have already reached out to us to tell us the truth. They are Americans who want to ensure election integrity like we do. I would encourage every Dominion or Smartmatic employee who is fed up with the corruption in this country to come forward as soon as possible, because these are serious federal offenses that I am confident the Department of Justice will be in pursuit of in very short order if they are not already.
All right. A few questions?
Yeah, Mayor Giuliani.
Oh, yes, the questions. Yes, please.
Sort of reminds us 30 years ago, they had federal judges.
What? No fucking way. No fucking way. They gave him a towel and he still has it dripping down both Oh my fucking God, dude. They gave him a fucking towel. And he's still... Okay.
Just doing consent decrees over elections, so you got a federal judge overseeing the election. This is old Chicago days. Will you be asking that in Georgia?
No way. He missed both. He doesn't know.
U.S. District Court judges and federal authorities monitoring the elections.
I can't say what's going to be done about...
In Montgomery County, we have sort of a Operation Gray
I'm sorry, in what county?
Montgomery County, Pennsylvania.
Yes.
Atlanta, there's sort of an Operation Gray Lord.
Mhm.
I don't know if you were
Yep.
informed of that.
I know about it. I really can't give you an opinion on that. I think, obviously, every election official should learn something from this and be very, very careful with the next election. I know this is a lot of information that we've given you, probably because we're frustrated with what we keep reading and hearing in the censored press, which is that we have no evidence, we have no specifics,
It's dripping.
we have no backup of what we're saying, and you largely ignore the affidavits that are filed.
Affidavits aren't evidence.
Whether you agree or disagree with an affidavit, it's evidence. You can't...
No. Not for election fraud. No, it's fucking not, dude. You've been taking affidavits from people. There have literally been affidavits recorded where people have said that, like, a person in the voter counting room had a Black Lives Matter shirt on, or an affidavit saying that one of the poll workers was rude to them, okay? Affidavits are not inherently worthwhile fucking evidence. Affidavits can lead to evidence, but they're not fucking under oath. An affidavit's not under oath. An affidavit is just a promise that you'll testify X if put in front of a courtroom. But even if you'll testify that a fucking poll worker was mean to you, that's not evidence of voter fraud.
I mean, you're just lying to the American people when you say there's no evidence. Sydney was giving you information that come from affidavits from other people that are given under oath. I was explaining things to you.
No. Isn't he supposed to be a lawyer? Wait, am I wrong? Hold on. Are affidavits... Wait, can you perjure? Can you... with an affidavit? You can once they go to court. Yeah, you can once they go to court, but not when you've just signed it. Not if you've just signed it with the Republican Party. You can perjure with an affidavit. A private entity can bring legal action. So it's not a criminal offense, it's a civil offense. Let me see. the Republicans or OAN or whoever would have to take them to court over an affidavit. Okay, I understand. It's a breach. Okay, it's a breach of contract. Okay, that makes sense to me. Yeah, an affidavit is a breach of contract if you lie in it or if you don't adhere to the evidence within. And if it's submitted to a court, then it becomes information provided under oath, at which point lying on it becomes a criminal offense and you can perjure yourself with it. Okay, yeah, these haven't been submitted to courts. This isn't a matter of perjury either. Also, can you imagine? You know, it'd be funny as fuck. Can you imagine? Oh God, imagine it. Can you imagine if all of these crazy-ass Republicans file all these crazy-ass affidavits and then they realize that they can actually be held legally accountable for the information within them, and then they change the affidavits or they back off, and then the Republican Party starts suing all the fucking random-ass Republican voters who file the affidavits being like, we trusted you, you had the evidence, you've backed out. Oh God, that would be so fucking funny, dude.
From affidavits that come from other people, American citizens, who swear under oath that they saw 100,000 ballots come in and that they were all for Joe Biden. And that, I should point out now that Sydney has spoken, that those happened just around the time that the Dominion or Smartmatic people called a halt to the election. And then you can also trace it.
Wait. The Smartmatic people called the election? What?
With a very big spike in the vote count at exactly that time. Right up. So what we're telling you is supported by evidence. And we're going to have to present these because of the procedures that exist according to the different voting laws of the different states. For example, you asked us about Wisconsin. We have to first create a contest in Wisconsin before we can move to bringing a fulsome federal lawsuit. The contest, from everything I can see, is going to overturn the vote because it's going to show somewhere around 100,000 illegal ballots in 2 counties that Biden carried by 75, 80%. And you know how close Wisconsin is. And what I'm talking about is the absentee ballots for which there were no applications. And that's not just a small matter. The reason for the application and the reason to keep all these things together is precisely to avoid what the Democrats did in this election, which is to misuse the absentee ballot process and the mail-in ballot process in order to cheat. So they really cheated in 2 respects. They cheated with the machines. Instead of asking me, are we going to bring a lawsuit in Wisconsin, which we will if we have to, you should have asked me, and you should be more astounded by the fact that our votes are counted in Germany and in Spain by a company owned by affiliates of Chavez and Maduro. Did you ever believe that was true? Did any of you here believe that that was possible? Of course it's not. Of course it shouldn't be possible.
Did I miss it? Did I miss the evidence?
I don't know if we're going to have time to develop all that in time to fill the requirements of all these cases. We have enough evidence without that to overturn this election. We have it from the affidavits of American citizens. But that's a matter of national security that we're talking about now.
Dude, you can't overturn. So, by the way, I love the fact that that one woman said their goal isn't to overturn the election, but the First Lady and Rudy Giuliani are both very clear that their goal is absolutely to overturn the American election. And additionally, no, affidavits are not enough to overturn the results of an election.
Matter of national security. Please don't make light of it. And don't act like you knew it. Don't act like it isn't a surprise. If that's not a headline tomorrow, then you don't know what a headline is. There isn't a single person in this country that would have believed that we have states that are stupid enough to have our vote sent out of this country. You couldn't possibly believe that the company counting our vote, with control over our vote, is owned by 2 Venezuelans who were allies of Chavez, are present allies of Maduro, with a company.
What about Castro?
Whose chairman is a close associate and business partner of George Soros. The biggest donor to the Democrat Party, the biggest donor to Antifa, and the biggest donor to Black Lives Matter.
The Antifa thing, too. Oh, my God, we have the Antifa thing, too. Amazing. Oh, my God, dude, it's the whole thing. I keep saying this, people. There is no such thing. All the crazy Republican conspiracy theorists that I've argued with are in line with the Republican Party. Whenever I bring somebody on, they're like, yeah, Antifa is being funded by Soros, the Jews. This isn't like some crazy, aberrant behavior. This is just Republicanism now. This is just the Republican Party now.
Yes. What do we have to do to get you to give our people the truth?
Is it safe to call Soros conspiracism to be neo-Nazi rhetoric? Yeah, but I mean, Rudy Giuliani has a special relationship. Rudy Giuliani, who I think is a Catholic, has said he's more of a Jew than Soros, a Holocaust survivor. So I'm pretty sure Rudy Giuliani has a special relationship with George Soros anyway.
Yes.
Thank you, Giuliani. My name is Liz Willis with RSBN.
No, that's completely true. Look, wasn't it more of a Jew? Yeah, here we go. Rudy Giuliani says he's more of a Jew than George Soros. Wait, I thought I got a New York Times account. God damn it. Well, whatever. Yeah, that's the gist of it. Was it a WAPO account I got? Here we go. Yeah, there you go. So he's got a special relationship, you know?
Some on this legal team have mentioned before that people close to the Trump campaign are pressuring them to drop the investigation into Dominion. Can you go further into detail and tell us specifically who those people are? Also, if it's possible...
How do we unnormalize the conspiracism and shit? Conduct a material analysis, friend. Where is all the Republican conspiracism coming from? It's coming from very well-paid, incredibly powerful Republican actors. These people need to be disbarred, disavowed, removed from power, and silenced as aggressively as possible. They are enemies to free speech and to democracy. Like, they have to be made no longer capable of influencing people's perspectives.
Well, can you tell us if they work with some of our powerful defense groups in the United States, such as the CIA?
And the last part was, do they work
With defense groups.
with defense groups and the CIA? First, I'm in charge of this investigation.
That sounds a little gulag-y, Vosh. No, not at all. This is just the tolerance paradox. Tell me, if you're a fan of democracy and your goal is to preserve democracy, do you allow the anti-democratic party to run? The answer is no, because if they ever win, you lose it. You don't get bonus points for being a pro-democrat individual and letting the anti-democrats run. Like, you don't get bonus democracy points. Yes, because I love free speech, they take away the free speech. This isn't a matter of political puritanism versus compromise. It's a matter of whether or not you actually care about preserving these institutions or if you just have a fetish for being logically consistent. My logical consistency is this. I like democracy and I like free speech. So when fascist autocrats end up trying to take power within our government and they come dangerously close, I'm perfectly okay being intolerant of those people. Why would I not be? How do we quantify who gets to run and who doesn't, Vosh? It's not a matter of who gets to run and who doesn't. It's a matter of solidifying and codifying laws that prevent people like this from entering power. Do you have any idea how much the American legal and presidential system relies upon gentlemen's agreements? What happens if an ungentlemanly person runs? Well, then we get this situation, don't we? With Donald Trump lying, boldly empowering media organizations that promote untruth and propaganda, firing fuck tons of people on his way out, doing incredible damage to our democratic infrastructure, convincing tens of millions of people that this election was stolen. The issue is gentlemen's agreements don't actually work when you're dealing with fascists. You need to solidify democracy. You need to preserve democracy. You need to preserve free speech. What do you say to the best way to combat hate speech is more speech argument? That works great until they put you in a camp. You think that would work with Trump in a second term? You think that the best way to combat Adolf Hitler is with more speech? Well, okay, good luck with that. No, obviously not. All politics is power. People forget that. Well, Democrats forget that. Republicans don't forget that. Republicans know this. Republicans don't give a fuck about life or ethics or morals or anything like that. They care about power, which is great for them. It works phenomenally in their favor. That's the reason why they have more institutional power than the Democrats, in spite of the fact that there are literally 10 million more registered Democrats than Republicans. Isn't that crazy? They're just so much better at it. It's all about power. And at the end of the day, I want the power in this country and in the world to be solidified around institutions which preserve things like democracy and free speech. And you can't do that if your systems are weak enough to allow autocrats to slip their way in. So something has to be done about that. And we can do it legally, we can do it fairly, we can do it institutionally. But we already have systems for this. Folks, right now, could somebody run on a pro-murder ticket? Is that possible? I guess it's possible, but it wouldn't do much. I mean, it wouldn't lead anywhere. Trump did. You know what I mean by pro-murder ticket. I really mean pro-murder ticket. It's possible, I guess, hypothetically, but you wouldn't go very far with it. And the reason for that is because right now we have very strong institutions that systemically delegitimize murder. At least murder in the direct one-on-one way, and not murder in the let people die of starvation because you refuse to give them a social welfare state kind of way. But we don't really have any good institutions to prevent autocracy or fascism or open, blatant propagandizing. And these are things we need to shore up if we want democracy to survive. This isn't just a matter of, like, sticking it to the fascists. This is for their benefit. Do you think Republicans would really be better off in a second Trump presidency? Do you sincerely believe this is a matter of us versus them? This isn't a matter of one group of people in this country against another group of people in this country. This is everyone in this country against a very small and very specific group of autocratic elites. And those people are taking advantage of weaknesses within our system that they allow to exist. Anyway.
Sydney and the people that you see here, there's been no pressure to stop investigating Dominion.
No one's
In fact, there's
pressuring y'all to stop.
no, there's pressure to go as fast as we can. I mean, I think there was uniform shock when we first heard it. I think when I first heard it, I didn't believe it until Sydney showed me the documents. And in fact, I feel kind of stupid, and you all should, because all you had to do is go online and find out that Smartmatic is owned by Venezuelans close to Chavez. You can Google it. Well, unless they take it down. I preserved it, so you can find it. Not, you know, and by the way, the Coomer character, who is close to Antifa, took off all of his social media. But we kept it. We've got it. The man is a vicious, vicious man. He wrote horrible things about the president. He is completely biased. He's completely warped. And he specifically says that they're going to fix this election. I don't know what you need to wake you up to do your job and inform the American people, whether you like it or not, of the things they need to know. This is real. It is not made up. It is not. There's nobody here that engages in fantasies. I've tried 100 cases. I prosecuted some of the most dangerous criminals in the world. I know crimes. I can smell them. You don't have to smell this one. I can prove it to you 18 different ways.
Okay.
I can prove to you that he won Pennsylvania by 300,000 votes. I can prove to you that he won Michigan by probably 50,000 votes.
They can prove to you over Twitter, not in the courts, though. If you could prove it, why is it not shown up in the courts?
When I went to bed on election night, he was ahead in all those states, every single one of those states. How is it they all turned around? Every single...
See, this is how you know there is absolutely nothing substantive to his arguments. He's like, I have proof these states actually went to Trump, and then he persistently demonstrates the fact that he is incapable of understanding how mail-in ballots are counted. He repeats the same shit over and over and over again, okay? Like he wants you to believe he has some sort of secret knowledge that he could prove if he was only given the chance to in court. But then he's like, listen, I can prove to you that a perpetual motion machine exists, okay? If I could just be given the chance, okay? Okay? If I could just be given the chance. What they don't want you to know is, do you know what happens when you put a slinky at the top of stairs? It slinks down forever. But they don't want you to know that. It's like he's acting as though he has like some secret information. But then when he talks a little bit longer, he proves that he has no fucking idea what he's talking about.
One of them turned around. Or is it more consistent that there was a plan to turn him around? And since there are witnesses who say there was a plan to turn him around,
witnesses,
and it kind of begs credulity to say that it all happened in every single state. My goodness, this is how you win cases in a courtroom.
Really? Wait, is that how you win cases in a courtroom? Damn, dude, you should apply some of that sage knowledge to your court cases instead of withdrawing them. That's amazing. Ooh. That's really good.
Sir, is it your goal here to structure?
Oh, he finally got it.
Lawmakers in these battleground states to block or delay certification so the GOP can pick their own electors? Is that the end game here?
Got dying mouth.
Our goal here is to go around the iron curtain of censorship. That what publication are you with?
What censorship? Oh wait, what'd they say?
That what publication are you with?
CNN.
It's to go.
I like how all of them act like CNN is some sort of crazy partisan news network when it's the most banal corporate news network, like on the face of the earth. CNN has this massive fucking media apparatus, and with it, it does nothing to meaningfully improve the state of this country.
Around the outrageous iron curtain of censorship and get facts to the American people.
What's censorship?
That if you were a fair and honest network, you'd have been reporting for the last 2 weeks. These are facts.
They've been reporting
These are
on all
things
of
that
it.
actually happened.
It's
These
just
people
wrong.
really wrote these affidavits. These affidavits are really part of the public record. You're concealing them, you're covering them up, and our role here is to do your job because you don't do it. Chanel?
I don't understand why these journalists are entertaining this shit. Why don't they just raise their hands and say, if you have so much evidence, why have you been thrown out of court 30 times? Like, why do they even entertain this dog shit? Like, at all?
As well. Where is our FBI? And have they expressed any interest whatsoever in looking into allegations of voter fraud and election fraud that you have pointed out in these 6 cases?
Come on, you have to have a little humor.
We have witnesses who have actually reported.
Where are you, FBI?
And nothing's happened as a result of it.
I don't know
That's
where
crazy.
the FBI has been for the last 3 years. I have no idea where the FBI has been for the last 4 years. Explain to me how the FBI concealed a memo in the hand of Brennan to Obama saying that Hillary basically made up the Russian collusion plot.
This is the Obamagate thing. Except the Russian collusion plot actually turned out to be completely true. We're getting multiple conspiracy theories wrapped up in one another. But the Russian collusion thing was like, or not the collusion thing, I'm sorry, Russiagate. The Russian election interference thing, that ended up being completely true. The evidence that the Russian government paid actors to disseminate false information to Americans, that ended up being completely true. Yeah, like 100%. Even by a bipartisan senatorial committee. He's talking about the Steele dossier, though. The main issue that I have with like dealing with Republican conspiracies is that they have so many of them and they're all proven wrong that there's no fucking point. If we're talking about the Steele dossier thing, then they reported on it because it was a dossier from an agent who had some degree of reputability, but I don't know like what that has to do with conspiracy. If we're talking about Obamagate, why were no fucking indictments made and the person who investigated ended up resigning because they weren't like it's like a million fucking stupid conspiracies that all overlap.
They withheld that for 4 years.
Kyle Klinsky says Russiagate's fake news thoughts. Well, by Russiagate, does he mean Russian collusion with Trump's government, or do they mean Russia's attempts to interfere with the election, or what? What are we even talking about? I don't even fucking know anymore.
And cost our country $40 million and 2 impeachment, one attempted, one actual, and then an acquittal proceeding. I don't know where they've been. I don't know where they were on the hard drive. They got it 10 months ago. There are clear crimes revealed on it. Didn't do anything with that. I don't know where they are now. Our country has had its ballots counted, calculated, and manipulated in a foreign country with a company controlled by friends of an enemy of the United States. What do we have to do to get the FBI to wake up? Maybe we need a new agency to protect us. I have no idea.
If I might speak.
Trump said they won. We withdrew the court case because we won. That's how it works. That's the winning move right there. It's when you withdraw from the court case you filed. That's the winning move right there. That's some big I'm not fired, I quit shit right there.
For just a minute. In terms of the level of corruption we are looking at here, we have no idea how many Republican or Democratic candidates in any state across the country paid to have the system rigged to work for them. These people didn't do this just to take control.
Wait, if you have no idea, then how can you allege there was any fraud? Wait, I thought the whole point of this entire thing was that you had evidence that there was tampering going on. Now you're saying you don't have any evidence that anyone did any tampering?
make one heck of a lot of money off of it. Think about the global interests behind your own news organizations. Think about the pressure being brought to bear from the social media companies to shut down free speech on any challenge to the election. This is a massive, well-funded, coordinated effort to deprive we the people of the United States.
A massive, well-funded, well-coordinated effort for which I have no evidence and don't know the extent of
Our most fundamental right under the Constitution to preserve this republic that we all cherish. It is of the greatest concern. It is the 1775 of our generation and beyond.
What?
Sydney, speaking
Yes.
of our votes being held and processed, tabulated overseas, there's reports that there was a piece of hardware, possibly a server, picked up in Germany. Is that true, and is it related to this?
That is true.
Civil War
it is somehow
signaling.
related to this, but I do not know whether good guys got it or bad guys got it.
Good guys or bad guys? I'm a lawyer.
Counties in Wisconsin are the counties that use Dominion systems.
I can only hear one person at the time. I'm going to take the one with the hands raised.
I'm with Just the News.
Yes.
So question for you, Sydney. First, on the issue of the machines, do you plan to have, are you seeking a court order to either seize or subpoena or just to gain access to any of these machines in any of these contested districts? Have you begun that process? And when can we expect a timeline on that? And then for you, Mr. Mayor, you mentioned in Wisconsin and in Michigan these issues of overvoting. Where can we learn more about this? You're saying 150, 200%?
Up to 350% in some
Sure.
places.
Where would we get access to that data? And then to what extent were
Oh, speaking of, there are people in chat who keep making JQ comments. This is nice. A Trump speechwriter who was sacked in 2018 for meeting with white nationalists has been rehired to oversee U.S. Holocaust memorials. Damn. That's straight out of a Onion article, huh? That's cool. Former speechwriter for Trump, previously fired for attending a meeting of white nationalists, has been given a new role to help oversee memorials commemorating the Holocaust genocide. There we go. Board member of the Commission for the Preservation of America's Heritage Abroad. The SPLC in Brimlow said that Brimlow regularly publishes works by white supremacists, anti-Semites, and others on the radical right. Damn, dude. Yeah, some Always Sunny shit. Or It's Always Sunny shit.
those people who showed up to vote in person? Because in Michigan, for example, they did allow same-day registration.
Yes, well, the same-day registration causes problems with the vote signature and the registration itself. That's a whole different system that makes it impossible, really, to validate the signature. I mean, one person could sign the same name. I could sign John Smith, I could sign K. Smith, I could sign, on both things and run 50 ballots that way. And
What?
we've got some evidence of.
Except then when they try to enter the ballots, there wouldn't be anyone by that name? What?
That being done as well. Rudy, do you want to speak to the other part of it?
Sure. We have now 3 overvote analyses done. One for Pennsylvania, one for Michigan, and one for Wisconsin. We're in the process, Georgia. We're in the process of doing the others. I'll check to see if it's appropriate for us to make it public.
Well,
I imagine it is, but you could actually do it.
Yeah.
You could do it yourself.
a lot of the analysis comes from the real-time data that came through to the news medias the night and following the election. And some entrepreneurs out there have started crunching data themselves, in addition to multiple experts who could easily recognize, with the mathematical brain that I do not have, the beyond explicable deviation.
International Men's Day, baby. Fuck women. Their tiny brains can't even do math. True.
To the point of mathematical impossibility that 186,000 votes come in at once, all for Joe Biden. That's like flipping a coin 186,000 times, and it lands on heads every time. That does not happen. There is.
Is she really referring to the fucking Decision Desk update that ended up getting immediately retracted like 10 seconds later?
No reasonable explanation for the upshoots, the straight lines up. I'm not even talking about an angle. I'm talking about some massive straight lines up in the vote tallies in the middle of the night after they've supposedly stopped counting. And that's when the Dominion operators went in and injected votes and changed the whole system. And it affects votes around the country.
Hold on. I really, really, really want to know, Vosh, can this lady, Sidney Powell, ever be charged with a crime for the things she's doing and saying in this press conference? No, but she should. As far as I'm concerned, everything that the Trump administration is doing right now is treason. And I say that with full seriousness, not with like this, like when the people said, oh, Hillary Clinton should be hanged for Benghazi or some shit like that. I mean, this is a pretty deliberate effort to destroy the country. There's no good forward momentum for this country. As shit like this actually makes me think that like press briefings should be, you should be able to perjure yourself in them. I actually think that. I feel like you should be able to perjure yourself in press briefings, and the only time that can't happen is if you lie for, like, national security reasons. Like, if the president says, like, no, I don't have James Bond in Iran setting detonators on their nuclear production silos, and they cross their fingers behind their back, then maybe you can get a slip out for that, because you don't want Bond to get jumped on because the fucking, news network. But yeah, I at this point, I really do think that, like, stepping up here means that if you lie, you should be fucking arrested. Is there any reason that shouldn't happen? It would make them a lot more careful with the shit they say. I don't give a fuck that these people are just a legal team. I think they should all be arrested.
Around the world, and all kinds of massive interests of globalist dictators, corporations, you name it. Everybody's against us except President Trump and we the people of the United States of America.
You've spoken of unleashing the Kraken. Is the country ready for this? I mean, Americans should be astonished at what you're saying here today. Is the country on the verge of an electoral breakdown?
We've already had it. We have already had that electoral breakdown. But the Constitution, as Jenna explains, has provisions in it for how you fix this.
Unfortunately, treason as constitutionally defined doesn't meet these definitions. Hold on. Treason, Constitution. Give me that. Article 3, Section 3, Clause 1. Treason against the U.S. shall consist only in levying war against them or in adhering to their enemies, giving them aid and comfort. No person shall be convicted in treason of... Okay, yeah. I mean, I guess you could maybe make an argument that we're adhering to the enemies of America. I think fascists are the enemies of America. But obviously, constitutionally, that wouldn't fly. Sedition, then. Get them all up on sedition or perjury. Get them. Get them. Get them. Do you think these guys know it's a grift? Do you think they're true believers? Here's the thing. The farther to the right or left you go, I don't know if there's a difference. The more severe or radical your beliefs, I feel like the doublethink sets in, and you can simultaneously believe that you're lying while also believing sincerely in everything that you say, you know? I actually think that's completely true. Yeah, in that respect, that's an element where horseshoe theory is real. The more radical you become, I think the more likely it is that you can lie while believing your lies. Yeah. Who the fuck made this? This is great. If I looked this good in dresses in real life, then I'd wear them more often. They look comfy. This is sick as shit. Good color theory. Oh no, he's cute. Linky? Yeah, here. There you go.
And there should never be another election conducted in this country, I don't care if it's for local dog catcher, using a Dominion machine and Smartmatic software. We have got to have an American company that uses paper ballots that we can all verify so every one of us can see that our vote is our vote.
Why are you not requesting recounts in Wisconsin counties that use Dominion software? You're requesting recounts in 2 counties that don't use the software at all.
Because this case is not only about, remember, this case didn't begin with Dominion. This case began, and this case can be proven the old-fashioned way. It can be proven based on just good old-fashioned
Twitter posts.
Democratic tactics to go back to Mayor Daley in the 1960s, when he held the vote back in Chicago so that he could elect John F. Kennedy. Or as recently as last year, when they held the vote back in Palm Beach County and Broward County in order to see if they could steal that election for the Senate and governor, and then got caught manufacturing ballots. Democrats have been doing this for years on a small scale. When they passed the mail-in voter statute, which all of a sudden multiplied by 10 times the number of mail-in votes, they realized they could have a field day. They could do precisely what Jimmy Carter and Secretary Baker warned us about. All you have to do is own an election board, and you can get away with it. And unlike what Sydney is talking about, where you can have a paper trail, a paper ballot, I tried to point out to you, the minute that you separate the outer envelope from the ballot, you can no longer trace it, which is why the count, whatever the count in Georgia today is, it's totally ridiculous. They're counting the same fraudulent ballots one more time. And we're still very close.
Mr. Mayor, so far, no single court has found evidence of fraud. That's got to be disappointing for you.
Historian here, what Rudy Giuliani just claimed about Chicago election being rigged for Kennedy is actually false. Rudy Giuliani lying?
How would you discuss describe his mood at the moment? And do you and him still genuinely believe you can overturn this election, or is it about something bigger for you?
Hold on, I have to remove the
Well,
cats.
it
They're
is
running
about
around.
something. Let's go from the big picture to the smaller picture. The most important thing here is that this has been a massive attack on the integrity of the voting system in the greatest democracy on earth. The people who did this have committed one of the worst crimes that I've ever seen or observed. One of the things we're the most proud of in this country is that we've been such a long-standing democracy based on the right to vote. They have trashed the right to vote, they've dishonored the right to vote, they've destroyed the right to vote in their greed for power and money. And there's no doubt about it. This was not an individual idea of 10 or 12 Democrat bosses. This is a plan. You would have to be a fool not to realize that. They do the same thing in exactly the same way in 10 big Democrat-controlled, in most cases, crooked city. And when I say crooked city, go look at how many of their officials have gone to jail in the last 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 or 60 years that they have dominated and destroyed those cities. They picked the places where they could get away with it. They picked the places where, whether or not Republicans testified to something, judges would just dismiss it because judges are appointed politically. And too many of them are hacks. They picked places where they could get a sheriff that refused to enforce a court order. When we got a court order that we could be 10 feet closer, our representatives were told, if you try to do it, I'll arrest you.
You're painting a portrait of a national conspiracy, suggesting that Joe Biden was actually part of that.
Part one.
Hold on. I've just received from a correspondent another irrefutable piece of evidence that voter fraud took place in the 2020 presidential election. This was taken in Chicago. I have word that these three were not the only ones. We have to do something about this.
Part one. It began as a national conspiracy. Clearly. That evidence emerged very, very quickly. The minute I saw that it was the same thing in 10 states, just using logic, I said this can't be an accident. And then what I was surprised about is the dimension of it. I mean, not inspecting almost 700,000 ballots is astounding.
If you're suggesting that Joe Biden was part of that conspiracy, I just wonder what your evidence is.
Honestly, I don't know what Joe Biden is aware of or not aware of. And I mean that as a lawyer, not trying to be cute. I've watched him, I've observed him. I honestly don't know how much he's aware. I don't know how much he decides and how much things are decided for him. So
Let me address one other thing to your question about the process. Your question is fundamentally flawed when you're asking where is the evidence. You clearly don't understand the
Jesus Christ! You're kidding me. Your process is fundamentally flawed when you ask where the evidence is. There is no better representation for their
process. Your question is fundamentally flawed when you're asking where is the evidence. You clearly don't understand the legal process. What we have asked for in the court is to not have the certification of false results. And so to say
you have to prove that there are false results. Evidence. The procuring of evidence is literally fucking step one. Well, I mean, obviously you give your opening statement. So it's not step one if you're in a court case, but it is basically step one. What do you mean? You need evidence that there are. When you ask us for evidence, you're really you're really missing the point. Okay, we don't need evidence. It's not the time for evidence. We don't need evidence. We're just asking to win the case.
Hold on a minute. We have evidence that we will present to the court. We haven't had the opportunity yet to present that to the court. We're giving.
Why not present it to us? Also, yes, you have. You've had court cases.
Giving you an overview and a preview of what we've discovered, but no court yet we've had that opportunity. So when we have we have fraud allegations pending. So what we've asked for are temporary restraining orders or injunctions to not certify false results. We're very happy that Michigan.
What are false results?
The reason we dismissed that lawsuit today is because the Michigan.
Okay, wait. So she's describing the Michigan lawsuit being abandoned. So this press conference took place after Rudy Giuliani backed out of that case. Okay.
County in Wayne County, they're not going to certify that because 71% of counties have inconsistent data. No person in this room or in this country should want states to rush through and coronate a president with.
Aren't they certifying it? Hold on. Wayne County Didn't they try to like back out of it? Yeah, they already signed it. 2 Republican Wayne County canvassers have signed affidavits saying they regret their votes Tuesday to certify the November 3rd election, arguing that intense bullying and coercion plus bad legal advice forced them to agree to certify the election after they had voted no. So here's what happened, okay? These Wayne County canvassers, the Republicans, initially refused to certify the election, saying that they didn't trust the results out of, like, Detroit. Like black people, you know, like they're fine with the red, but it's just Detroit, you know? And then, but later they were pushed to certify it. And then it later comes out they were directly contacted by Donald Trump, who told them not to certify. I think I retweeted this. Where was this information? Or did I just like it? Why do I like things? Why don't I just bring them up? Hold on. God damn it. Wayne County, Donald Trump. Yeah, look at this shit. Fuck you. Donald Trump called Monica Palmer after Wayne County Board of Canvassers meeting. Donald Trump personally called some of the Republican canvassers. And they claim the Dems were the ones who bullied them. Anyway, the GOP canvassers tried to rescind their votes, but they weren't able to. As I understand it, Wayne County is now certified. They backed out of Michigan being like, we accomplished what we wanted here. They didn't certify. They did certify. So, another spectacular failure. When do we get to make fun of Republicans for all this? For the rest of your life, but it's never going to sink in for them. They don't know what fucking clowns they are.
False results. We have to make sure that the results are accurate.
Okay.
That's what we will prove.
Two more questions.
The Secretary of State says that can't actually happen, that those votes can't be rescinded, and that the certification in Michigan.
The mouth.
Secretary of State where?
In Michigan.
Yeah, well, there are problems in Michigan. Follow the money.
Follow the political party, man. I mean, you're actually seriously going to want me to take seriously the Secretary of State of Michigan? When the Secretary of State of Michigan never bothered to find out that the votes in her state were being counted in Germany by a Venezuelan company, and you want me to take her seriously or him?
You want me, Rudy Giuliani, a man of great integrity, to take seriously this woman?
Seriously? I mean, I was in government. If I were the governor of that state, I'd fire everybody that was involved in this election. They didn't come and tell me that my state was going to be embarrassed, made a fool of, because I'm sending my votes of people in Michigan over to Germany to be counted by a company that is owned by people who are allies of Maduro and Chavez. By the way, Carol...
Again, this was disproven before this press conference. I keep showing you the Associated Press link debunking this. Like, they know it's not true.
Maloney, who wrote that, is my congresswoman. A Democrat pointed that out. They didn't do the darndest bit of due diligence. If you bought a $10 million company, you would have done more due diligence than that. Maybe they're incompetent, or maybe they didn't want to know. But you're not going to have me take seriously anything that comes from anyone involved in the election the way it was conducted in Michigan.
But you guys are saying that those votes have been rescinded. They haven't. The Secretary of State there says that they can't be.
The Secretary of State can say whatever she wants to say. Of course she's going to say that. She's a Democrat. She could also credit the affidavits of the two people and say that the board is tied and therefore the vote hasn't been certified. So because she's a Democrat, she's saying that. Do you think she has any credibility, having run the kind of election they ran in Michigan? You think anyone in that government has credibility after using a machine and fooling their citizens? There can't be a person in Michigan who thought their vote was being sent outside the United States so somebody could play with it. I mean, it's disgraceful what the government of Michigan did to its citizens. Absolutely disgraceful.
Mr. Mayor?
Last question.
Mr. Mayor, you have just to go back to the servers. Are you going to be able to get your hands on the voting machines or the servers, and are you going to be able to see what, when, where, how?
We're not, we are limited in what we can do. We're not the FBI. We're not the government. We don't have that kind of subpoena power. We don't have the power to just go subpoena anything we want. The government does. We would have to subpoena it in line with a case. Our first case, we're asking for that authority in Pennsylvania and in Michigan. But you have to get that authority from the court. We're private citizens. We're not the government. If I were the government, like I used to be, there'd probably be a lot of people arrested by now. Because there's plenty of probable cause. Plenty of probable cause.
All right, thank you, everybody.
No. We'll take.
You alleged that Donald Trump has won by a landslide. We've seen that a lot of your lawsuits and in fact lawyers have been kind of dropping like flies. What do you say to the people who call this a Russiagate 2.0 just on the other side? Why didn't this, and also why didn't this happen?
What fake network do you come from?
I don't have a fake network. In fact, I am completely independent, have no one above my head.
Like I said, people, sedition.
Oh my goodness. Well, first of all, our cases haven't been dismissed. We only have.
Over 20.
Look at the plaintiffs who were involved in this.
It's not our case, ma'am. Don't lie to people.
I'm saying, what do you say to
Ma'am, you are lying.
I think that
You're lying. You're lying. Well, continue to lie. I'm not going to.
went way over their head.
Ma'am. Okay. Let me answer the question. The answer to the question is, we don't have a lot of lawsuits. We only have 3. Our lawsuits have not been dropped all over the place.
Let's get the official tally, okay? Can I get a link to the official tally of lawsuits that have been made so far by the Trump administration? Yeah, it's 1 to 29, but can I get an official source for that? Here? That's a YouTube video, my friend. Is this it? Here are all the lawsuits Trump has filed since Election Day. 1, 2... I don't think this is a relatively old one, right? When was this up? No, updated November 18th. That's yesterday. Ah, yes, the famous 4 seasons coverage that I didn't go over. Yeah, 1 to 29. Here we go. There we go. Thank you, Newsweek. Trump campaign is 1 to 29 in post-election lawsuits after latest defeat. And this is from today. Nice. And the most recent defeat is, of course, the Michigan one that we've been looking at. So, yeah, I don't know.
Okay, well, you're a totally discourteous person. I'm going to finish my answer. So, I'm going to finish my answer. The fact is we have very, very few lawsuits. The lawsuits you're talking about have been brought by private individuals and groups. Most of them were dismissed for lack of standing. Probably correctly, because they were brought before the election took place. The election is now over. The only lawsuit we have withdrawn.
Nope. The 1 to 29 is for elections or for lawsuits that took place after the election from the Trump administration.
Is the one where we got the relief that we wanted, and that's the one in Michigan. We also have another lawsuit in Michigan that will accomplish the other objectives of what we want to do in Michigan. So it's silly to have 2 competing lawsuits.
The objectives that he wanted accomplished was a lack of certification for the Wayne County election results when they had already been certified.
The only lawyer that left a case left because he was threatened. His family was threatened. His children were threatened. And so was the other lawyer. Yeah, that's true.
That
we
sucks.
have a little difficulty getting lawyers because our lawyers get threatened with being killed. Because
yeah, dude, the big threat of fucking Biden Antifa terrorist violence. Yeah, dude, that's totally a real fucking thing. Oh yeah, Republicans quake in their fucking boots imagining all of the Biden-crats running up the K-Hive firebombing their offices. Jesus Christ. In contentious shit like this, I have no doubt that there are threats being made at lawyers and judges and all that shit. But if you actually think that the Democrats are anywhere fucking close to the wanton violence Republicans would threaten in this case if the situation was reversed, you are delusional. If this was reversed, then the fucking Democrats filing affidavits would probably be getting assassinated.
The ridiculous way in which you cover this, and the ridiculous way in which you cover.
You haven't seen how I've covered this. Now,
I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about everybody. But I get a pretty good sense from you, the way you handle yourself, how you cover it.
Man.
All right, we're finished with you now. One last question. One last question from a. One last question. One last question. One last question from a reasonable civil person. Yeah, you are not. Yes.
I'm not a reasonable person?
No, her, she isn't.
Okay, all right.
Well, we'll find out.
I'm from the Daily Caller, for the record.
Oh, there we go.
If the
Great.
courts don't let you present these cases like Dennis just said, will you give the entire bulk of the evidence to the media to review? And if so, when? Were you going to drag this thing out like the Hunter Biden hard drive again?
We're not going to drag it out. I mean, it's ridiculous for you to say we're dragging it out. Well, Al Gore had a lot more time than we've had, and we've had.
Yeah, because Al Gore had a credible Supreme Court case that didn't get dismissed offhand for lack of evidence.
2 weeks to investigate. So that's also completely unfair to say we're dragging it out. Also, if we're going to present things in court,
Also, Al Gore's election came down to like 500 votes in Florida. You lost by like 100,000, okay? In multiple states. You would have to flip multiple states for Trump to win, and not by margins that recounts will affect.
Present it to you, judges are not going to be very happy with us. And finally, I have to tell you, our witnesses don't want to be exposed to the tender mercies of a vicious press. I have great difficulty getting those witnesses that I did reveal to allow me to do it. They don't trust you. They don't like you. They think you put their lives in jeopardy with the spin that you put on what's going on here and with the unfairness in which you cover it. It's not easy to reveal the things that they tell me.
Wait, is he saying right now that the Daily Caller isn't far right enough? Is that what I'm hearing right now? Is he saying the Daily Caller is too far left and too... Are you fucking kidding me? The Daily Call. Pretty soon, like unironically, the only news outlets that Republicans are going to trust are going to come from like fucking the Daily Shoah. Yeah, pretty soon OAN is going to be commie shit to them too. Yeah, Stormfront. No, Breitbart is going to be too far left for them soon.
The answer is no.
The answer is I can't do it because I can't put a witness's life in jeopardy or a person who thinks there's life in jeopardy. This woman tells me we have lawyers dropping out of the case. We have lawyers dropping out of the case because they're being threatened with destruction of their careers, destruction of their livelihood, and in some cases, destruction of their lives.
Whoa, wait, hold on. So the first two things you said there were destruction of their careers and their livelihoods. That's fine. Lawyers for the Trump administration should be disbarred. You should never be able to serve again. Are you fucking kidding me? Yeah, that's fine. Wait, that's totally fine. There's nothing wrong with that. None of you should ever be able to get a job again. I want to be able to go down to fucking McDonald's, okay? And I want to see fucking new guy Giuliani cleaning the toilets, okay? When I go in there, and the reason he's cleaning the toilets is because it's punishment, because the real toilet cleaner, the good, honest, hardworking proletarian toilet cleaner is literally giving him shit, okay? I want him to be the guy who fucking tongue scrapes the chewed gum off of the underside of the tables, okay? That's what I want. That's a good America, okay? I don't want this guy to ever have a real job again. I want him to be tongue scraper, all right? Now, that last bit there, the threatening their lives, yeah, fine, it's not good. But when you say it like that, it makes me think the only threats these guys are getting are from, like, legal teams saying, like, you're going to lose your job if you do this, mate.
That comes about because of the hysterical way in which...
Didn't you say we need to make janitorial roles honorable? Yes, and the best way to make janitorial roles honorable would be to not tongue scrape chewed gum off the underside of tables.
You have covered Donald Trump and his administration. But we're going to change all that. We're going to go to courts. We're going to prove it in court. I would love to release all the information that I have. I would love to give it to you all. Except...
I would love to. Folks, I would love to. And the past 36 court cases, they weren't enough, okay? They weren't enough. I would love to give you all my evidence, but I can't. I'm sorry. It's in the other room. It goes to a different high school. I can't show you.
Most of you wouldn't cover it. A few of you would. And then we'd have half the American people probably informed. The censorship that's going on in this country right now by big tech and by big media is almost as dangerous as the election fraud that we're revealing. Maybe just as dangerous. We're headed to a very bad place. And it is not inappropriate that a Venezuelan company counted our votes. Thank you.
Which was disproven. Wow! So that was like the most unhinged shit I have ever seen from the gut. Wow. This must have been how sane people felt back during the McCarthy days. Just insane shit that a fuck ton of people took seriously. That is unbelievable. I can't believe it. This is actually so far beyond the pale. Yeah, no, this was objectively like the worst press conference I've seen in the entirety of the Trump administration. That is unbelievable. Sedition for all of them. Are you going to be covering the press conference about to start? What's the press conference that's about to start? What's the next one?